Let's fire the stream up. Give me a minute to get the word out on both posts, which I'm trying to get a bit better at, y'all. I know I haven't been on post a lot because I'm still getting used to having a new login, but post isn't a bad site, and I will be utilizing it more as Twitter continues to crumble into dust. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. Yes, Tell It Tuesday is back. I am your host, Kalari GXC. We have so much to talk about today, y'all. This first topic, I wasn't even going to broach. Wasn't even going to bother with it because, A, I'm black. And I'm black with both Caribbean, New York roots. I have relatives that hit every spiritual spectrum. And we've always had the rule that you don't speak ill of the dead. So my thing was, I was also going to golden rule the situation. If I didn't have anything nice to say, I wasn't going to say anything at all. And then I went on to Twitter. That bastion of fuckery that is Twitter. And the problem with Twitter is people say it's where you can express your opinion. Well, free to do so. I do it freely too. I've been doing it for freely for over 10 years. So, of course, you're going to get conflicting opinions, battering views all the time because all we want to do is fight on that app. But when news of little Miss COVID denier dropped, because she dropped dead, and I cackled at the fact that, yes, the world lost half of the gruesome twosome. I made it clear that not only wasn't I upset by her death, but I'm not going to try and take a moral high ground about how I feel about her death. And then I seen somebody I respected liking the comments that people like me were making to being MAGA. And fine. Unlike some people, the sociopath in me is like, I don't care. But the issue I have is that there were a couple more people saying, oh, if you want to be a decent person, you shouldn't speak ill of the dead, and she was still a human being. And I'm going to stop you right there. Because back in 2015, because it wasn't 2016, I had her blocked by then. I had just formed my group, the CCC. We were going to do podcasts. We were going to talk politics. We were making our name on Twitter. And then making your name on Twitter with your group, you get influencer people. You get people from all sides trying to talk at you. One of those people were Diamond and Silk. Right along with Dinesh Souza. I had a couple of right-wingers come at me. Some of them, like Jordan, I used my mama's telephone number, were in my DMs talking about, you should be on our side, you're eloquent enough, and I stopped that really quick. Wasn't interested. But Diamond and Silk and Dinesh were a whole different bag. Because both of them pulled the whole, we're on the same side, brown person, but you're just not seeing things properly. You need to hate like we hate so that you can get on this gravy train lean. Those two birds came at me about immigration, not realizing that, like many African Americans, I have ties. Like most of us have ties to family that did not come over here just on slave ships. I have family who would classify as immigrants from both the Philippines, from both the Caribbean, from South America. So when these birds tried to try me about immigration, because they thought that was going to be the linchpin for me, because that so many black people tried it with that. That was the scary part. There's a brother named Tariq, I believe. He tried to be a rapper at that, who was pushing that whole idea of black people need to be anti-immigrant. So I think Heckle and Jekyll, as I was calling them even in 2015, were trying to lean on me in that light. And all they caught was a quick block. So when I say I cackled, because when you add the fact that this bitter, hateful person died of preventable illness, that she went around denying, that she used her large platform, whether you like it or not, Diamond and Silk had a pretty substantial platform of ears and eyes of people who wanted to listen to the shit she said. And as a black woman, especially, that shit carried way more weight than it should have. And she denied a health thing that could have kept her here, could have kept her grifting. And now her buddy's grifting off her death. So, no, I'm sorry, moral high grounders who want to get those clicks and likes on Twitter. I won't take back that I laughed. I gut laughed after news of her death. I even said on my friend's thread here, because a lot of us got our chuckles about this, that a fool and her life force are easily parted. I do not regret feeling this way about somebody who spent their limited existence being a harmful, hateful person, and now we have one less bigot with a platform. I know Twitter is a great way for you to express your opinion and act like you have some moral high ground because it couldn't be you talking ill about the dead. But unlike some who might have gotten their digs on Diamond and Silk based on their looks, which I tried not to. I don't. As a black woman, I really hate that open misogynoir. And I didn't think either one of them were really that ugly. I thought their attitudes made them bitter trolls. But I did not want to attack them on that level. There's plenty to attack them on. Their hatefulness, their ignorance, the fact that they were fucking literal COVID deniers. Yeah, there was plenty to attack without going for the low-hanging fruit of misogynoir. But what we aren't going to do is allow Twitter randos, or the moral police as they want to call it, which our side seems to be full of. But can't you think of the dead? Can't you think of being a decent human? A decent human being isn't wasting their time telling other human beings to hate other human beings because they're different from you. And that's all this bitch did while she was alive. That's all she cared about was spreading her toxic hate and poison. And now she's dead. And that is the only good thing I could say about Diamond, or Zirconia as I used to call her, because there was nothing diamond, there was nothing precious, there was nothing rare about her, except for the fact that she was a black bigot for white supremacy. She wasn't even a dime a dozen in that. Candace Owens called Stop Biting My Act. And you needed a side partner because you couldn't do it on your own. She couldn't even do it on her own. So, yeah, I'm sorry to those who have this ideology on what's morally good. But this is why I've made it clear, and I keep reminding people, I am not the one that's ever claimed to be a good person. People want to put that association to me because I try to just live a decent, quiet life. That's fine. But you do not hear me say, oh, I'm a good person. That's not me. Nah. I'm open about being petty, about being vengeful. And when you come at me with a place of hate in your heart about something that not only, even if it didn't affect me on a personal level from a family perspective, even if I didn't see the amount of paperwork that you have to put in just to get over here, the amount of stress that it takes to actually legally immigrate, stuff that some people will never know or understand. To have this hateful, bitter troll try me because they thought that they could just recruit any old Negro who needed money? Nah, that ain't gonna be me, man. And I'm not sorry that she's dead. I'm sorry both of them aren't. And if you don't like it, if this Bonnet Chronicles makes you upset with me, so be it. We're big people. I've lost people over the years, over my opinions, over the years from my attitude. If me not giving reverence to a literal bigot who denied COVID, fucked around and cashed that check of finding out with death, so be it, y'all. I am tired of seeing our side pull these okie dokes. It's like the same people who constantly try to tell you to forgive abusive people. You are the reason why abusive people think I can continue to be abusive sometimes. Because you don't understand that we don't have to forgive anybody to move on. And it doesn't make you a better person to keep allowing somebody who is toxic and hurtful to be so. Everything this woman did in her short amount of time on this earth was harmful. And if you want to pontificate and talk about how, it's more decent for us not to say anything ill, if you want to live your life that way, fine. But I'm going to be petty. Bye, bitch. Yeah. I just can't. It's only Tuesday, and it has already been a very stressful time, and most of it's on Twitter, and that is why I've been taking on and off breaks from social media between working on my new stuff. I just don't really want to be in the middle of nonsense, but you can't help it. And one of the things that has been all over the internet is this lovely couple. And I need people to understand something because I vented yesterday and I didn't think about it. I tend to, like everybody, share how I'm feeling. And it wasn't even my tweet. I was responding to another person who I respect tweet about the situation because it is kind of getting fucking tiring. And I know by dropping all these cuss words, I ain't getting monetized. I already complained about that. Watch the last Bonnet Chronicles if you want to know what I'm talking about, y'all. What I need people to understand about a lot of our frustration, especially if we don't live in Britain, is that it comes from a place of we are already exhausted by the realities of racism, misogyny, and misogynoir. And all of these talks just keep reinforcing that there's no place on this globe where we can get away from it. I support Harry and Meghan to the deepest parts of my soul. Because I predicted Harry was going to marry a black girl when I was younger. My grandmother chuckled about it, but I felt it in my bones. He was going to be the one to break away, and he did it. And he found not only a gentle, sweet, established wife who loves him, and he loves her. But I knew that they were up against a system of systemic fuckery that is really deep rooted in so many countries, including our own. Because need I remind people that anybody who is an adult descendant of slave can trace our ancestral agony and pain back to the British royal family. Because those colonizing fuckers are the reason why it was profitable, along with the Dutch, along with the Spanish, along with several empires. But the main culprits, the ones who want to take credit for ending it sooner than everybody else, but made a ton of profit, including paying back plantation owners in the Caribbean and beyond, but not allowing the Bahamas to be their own place, Jamaica or Aruba or Antigua to be without their nonsense. Nevertheless, what they did to Africa, India, and all over the place. So I'm really testy when it comes to British talk as it is. And welcome to the chat, Terry Antico. But then when you throw into the mix that the Queen died last year, and that was all everybody wanted to talk about, rightfully so. She was queen for fucking ever. So, of course, that was news all the time, in our face, whether we cared or not. Then this dropped. And like I said, I fully support Harry and Meghan as American citizens. I am fully on board with them raising them babies and being proper American citizens. What I am fucking tired of is hearing about the British royal family. Because you can't have one without the other, apparently. And we can't talk about Harry and Meghan without hearing about the other two. We can't talk about Harry and Meghan without seeing fucking Wish Cersei, as I'm calling Camilla. Because somebody put a picture of Cersei Lannister next to her and said, this is what you get when you order something online. And she just looks awful and like a gargoyle. And I'm just fucking sad. I don't even understand why Britain still needs royals. I know it's a flex. I know you think it shows your power and agency and all that. It's stupid. You're just spending hundreds of millions of dollars to flex on people who don't care. To show this incompetent boob who waited over 70 years to say, I'm king, I don't even want to sign things. Okay, then. But what's worse is when those of us who have literally really no dime in this quarter and are tired of Twitter being inundated with I can't stand Will and Kate. The British royal family are racist. Yeah, no shit. Meghan is the darkest member they have had in their inception. And I know some people want to dig through this video. No, there was another black queen. No, there wasn't. Stop it. Just stop. I know you're trying, but no. And Meghan's not even going to be queen because she and Harry stepped down from their royal duties. So can we please remember that? And if you're not from England, why do you fucking care what's going on with William and Kate? I don't. And I think yesterday I popped off a bit much because I know some people who follow me were worried that I was going to start blocking them. I just wanted to block the terms because I am fucking sick and I'm royally burnt out. And I don't think I'm the only Americans, especially, that just feels this way. It's just annoying. We left y'all years ago, had a whole war about it. Independence got away. We do not have those feelings towards the British royal family that, other lesser gripped colonies do. To the point where it kind of chafed me when they still try to call us the colonies because we're the whole fucking United States of America now. You need to get it out your system. You lost. We got our independence. We became 50 states. So I just feel like it bothers me when I go on Twitter to see the latest news, to talk politics, to see what's going on, to be inundated with crazy ass royal family nonsense. And I just felt like venting. But I do have to realize that a lot of my friends take that to heart. And I apologize. I did not mean to make any of you think I was going to block you. That wasn't the goal. The goal was to show that while I support Meghan and Harry, Archie and Lily Di, because I love this family. I think they are sweet, charming. I am happy that they're here in America. But I do get annoyed with the constant inundating of British this and British that. And, oh, they're this and oh, that. I don't care. In the scheme of things, they aren't even the most interesting thing that's gone on in the British media. Need I remind y'all, because it ties into a lot of things else I want to talk about. But I want to talk about this lady because she's a doozy. Let me get their picture down. Get this lady up. Because I know all of you by now know I'm a writer. I'm going to plug my book really quick. It's Axiom, sci-fi novel. Full novel, y'all. 544 pages. I know it seems like it's a lot, but a lot of people who have been reading it, hopefully we'll be getting some reviews soon, has said the story pulls them in. They are enjoying it. I'm glad. I know it's not easy, though, especially for somebody like me who's green, like this woman is. I'm going to get to the story in just a minute, y'all, because it all ties in. She's British, so I feel like it's a good segue. I get, as a writer, wanting people to see your skill, ability, wanting your stories to circulate. And she is far from the only person who considers themselves a writer to pull stunts. I was watching a YouTube about some guy over, I think, in Brazil that pretty much pulled a similar stunt, but didn't go as far as this lady. I get it. Wanting people to read your work, wanting people to take what you have put out there seriously. But if you don't believe in your stories, nobody will. And I tell that to anybody. I know it's going to take time. I know circulation takes time. I know word of mouth takes time. And that I might not even get a lot of people that care or want to read it. That's just the reality of writing. You're not telling a story to be famous. And unfortunately, in the world of writing, and especially romance writing, as we've seen from Susan Meachin here, that doesn't seem to be the case. And you might be going, Tim, well, what's this have to do with the British royal family or anything you just went on about your book? Glad you asked. This lady's from Britain, but like everybody, you can connect to people all over the world online. She, like a lot of writers, found a writers group. I because I'm such a freaking antisocial weirdo, do not join stuff like this. I've been invited. I can't. I'm busy writing. I don't have time for stuff like that. And I'm not saying that to act like I'm better than people. I just don't have to. I barely want to log on to the stuff that I do belong to. So I don't want to join like online social circles right now. That's just me and my personality. I know I probably should work on that, but I'm not. But she joined this Facebook group, and apparently she writes romance. And apparently from the group, it wasn't really that great of romance. And as you can see, one of her books is up there, but I cropped out the title of it because I'm not trying to give this woman free plugs. And when you hear why I refuse to give her cheesy ass books free plugs, you may or may not agree. I won't care either way. But point blank, Miss Meechan decided that to push her work, she would fake her own death. And I'm not even gonna say allegedly because the bitch came back. Let me get this because I was flabbergasted by her excuse. Let me make sure I got this saved because I could not believe the reasoning she gave. That's Miss Porter. Let me find this. There we go. I'm gonna put this up here for you because this speaks to her character. Let me get rid of the little hope button because the hope doesn't belong in this level of fuckery, y'all. Let me give you a bit of an adjustment. Whew, okay. Because I'm not a white woman, I don't understand the hubris behind this, but I'm going to try to do my best to read in the mindset of somebody with this amount of nerve. Now, here we go. I debated on how to do this a million times and still not sure it's the right or not. There's going to be a ton of questions and a ton of people are leaving the group, I guess. But my family did what they thought was best for me, and I can't fault them for that. So off the bat, blaming her family for this, which is classic bullshit. I almost died again at my own hand, and they had to go through that hell again. Returning to the war doesn't mean much, but I'm in a good place now, and I'm hoping to write again, let the fun begin. Now, reading this, you'll think, oh my gosh, this person, she had suicidal thoughts? Or, I mean, what was wrong with her? Every writer struggles with some kind of depression. I am a schizoaffective writer. I understand that mood swings happen. But no, what Susan skips over and tries to make light of is she claiming to be her daughter 2 years ago announced that she had died. Like straight out announced her death. They had a memorial fund for her. They legitimately raised money in honor of this dead woman who not only wasn't dead, but bragged about sneaking back into this group of friends, watching them grieve, mourn, move on without her, still mentioning how they missed their friend, gleefully sucking up the fact that maybe I wasn't disliked anyway. Pretending to be somebody else, gave yourself a whole new alias, all the while lying, pretending to be your daughter. This is why I don't buy that whole my family did this nonsense. I don't believe your family had anything to do with this. She completely fabricated her complete death to sell a book. And now she wants to come back and write, and that anybody who calls her out on her literal fraud is bullying her. And the writer circle of Twitter, because I follow a lot of people, I get a lot of tweets from people that all over the place. I don't limit myself to one genre. So I used to love like dipping into the romance writer circle because they always have some kind of drama going on. Like for real. The whole reason I even found most of those romance writers because they were arguing over something or talking about inclusion or something. It was a big drama about 4 years ago that I was being nosy and sat in on. But Homegirl was talking about the fact that she is literally trying to gaslight people into not being upset at her literal fraud. And here comes some NFT anime avatar bro talking about not everything has to be gaslighting. Dude, this chick legitimately faked her own death. Not only did she fake her own death, she pretended she was her daughter and made an alias, sat in that group, raised money for a memorial fund, and then anybody who calls her out on her literal deception is a bully. That is gaslighting. And I don't need some rando online who just wants to argue because contrarianism is fun to tell those of us who understand what gaslighting is because we've been gaslit and because she is legitimately a gaslighter that we don't know what we're talking about, dude. I know them ladies can be a bit dramatic and hyperbolic, especially, like I said, I ain't trying to typecast, but they are romance writers for a reason. They like the drama, they court the drama. I knew she'd be right too. The moment I read the story, because I read the article about 3 nights ago, and I was like, this don't sound like something a black woman would do. I'm sorry, in my heart, I know that we do stupid shit. I'm not trying to say black women absolve, but we kind of draw the line with fraud because we know we go to jail. And it don't matter what country it is. If she had been a black woman, she'd be sitting under the jail right now. That's just the reality of that. Welcome to the chat, Rail Baron. I feel like the moment I read the article, I could almost visualize what this lady looked like, but I did not want to go there until I seen for myself. And then I did. And then I seen the other picture of her, this one. I'm not even sure what to call this one. Let me share it really quick because it was a weird one. And I guess she likes snakes. All I know is that, like most people online, you're on there to get attention. When you're a writer, it's even worse. I just feel like she went about this so wrong. And I say this as a fellow writer. If you're putting your work out there just to share the story, that's the best reward you're going to get. But there are a lot of people in our field that's just trying to be the next Hogwarts writer, I guess, the next Anne Rice. They don't care about the story as much as they care about the fame, and that's just about anything. We are in the viral age, so it feels like not only are you putting your work up against a ton more people, but if it isn't that good either, you have to add antics. And like I said, she's far from the only one. I had that young man in Brazil that disappeared, like pretty much faked his own disappearance. He didn't go as far to act like he died, but he faked his own disappearance. It worked for him in book sales, but you shouldn't have to do that if what you're writing is solid. And from what I've heard about her romance stories, they're not solid. I'm not big on romance stuff anymore. I used to read it when I was younger. Not really my cup of tea, so I moved on from it. But if her antics are any indication of her ability to tell stories, she's really twisted. And I would have probably been more into the story that she's writing about her experience if she hadn't faked her own death and defrauded people. And I, like many other writers, kind of hope that her writers group come up with a better story, a better way of telling it, and make the profit that she should not get for being a literal fraudster. It is infuriating to me. And I know that in this day of viral clicks, views, and antics, she is far from the only person that does stupid stunts like this. But it just goes to show how people keep rewarding bad behavior. And it is a proper segue of that into my next topic, which I am sure is going to upset some people, but oh well. I'm not here to make friends today, y'all. And I am coming for blood. And I want people all day about this one because I'm not happy. I didn't want to come after this lady. I've tried. I know people who are close to me know how I feel about White Board Wilma. You know how I feel about her because she stunts. You knew how I felt about her when she went after Auntie Maxine. You knew how I felt about her when her credible aides and people who worked for her said that she is not only hard to work for, but she is very awful to them. I tried to look the other way, which I shouldn't. We shouldn't look the other way when credible stories about representatives come down the pipe, but having her in that seat was vital. I ignored her little insolent earrings thing when people actually went and got the bill passed that she could have drafted up if she really cared about legislation, but she doesn't. She cares about doing stunts like this to get on BuzzFeed, doing stunts like this to get us talking about her. Well, good, we're talking about you because her latest stunt is what really pissed me off. Not even this awful book by a literal racist misogynist that got called out. And I'm going to link the Medium article on my YouTube because a friend of mine, I don't even know if it was a friend of mine, because so many of my friends write on Medium, but somebody linked her and she seems like somebody I know. Completely broke down the problem with the book that Katie was that so many people were standing her over. She's a badass bitch. People that I respect would tweet and stuff like that out. And my brain goes, this is what you think is doing something? Yet these same people had mouth for Hakeem Jeffries' A to Z speech too. We see the correlation, y'all. You ain't fooling us. And I'm not even going to get into the minutia of the people who want to argue that the next female senator from California needs to be black, because there are a lot of different arguments being made that I may or may not agree with. The only thing I don't agree with is that Senator Fienstein never officially announced any retirement anyway. So for this heifer to talk about how she's running for Senate ahead of time and how people are trying to twist it as, oh, she's just trying to push Feinstein into doing the right thing, and all this ridiculous ageism, misogyny, and all just the nastiness that you think we don't see in this situation is frustrating. And the fact that little Miss Stunts is eating it up when you will be embarrassed because you did not come that close to your own election back into the House of Representatives. Need I remind you, Katie? I think what troubles me the most about White Board Wilma is she reminds me of all the kids I went to high school with back in Staten Island. Smile in your face, act like they're your best friend as long as they can copy your paper, or you can write a paper for them. As long as they didn't have to do the hard work but seeing the benefits from it. And as long as there was a black or brown kid that was willing for friendship to step into that role and do that, they would take full advantage. And Katie Porter is that white person. And I know that some of my friends hearing that will maybe tense because you'll be like, was I like that? I hope not, but I don't know. But I do know when I see one. I do know that when I look at the paperwork of who does what legislative wise, who passes what bills, who drafts what bills, Katie's list is not that long. I believe naming the post office is her greatest claim to fame. And while, yes, she might vote a little bit better than the squad, the way they're gearing her up, she's either squad adjacent, because they're already having idiots like Nina Turner. How many times do you have to lose backing her? So they're already gearing her up to be this progressive hopeful. And it's like, we don't want her. She needs to stop. I get ambition. I get wanting to move up and hopefully move up because you want to influence and do right by your constituents. But everything that Katie Porter has done the last few years has been about looking at her. And I know some people go, well, no, she's saying, look at me because I'm talking about the issues. She makes it clear for people. Does she really, though? Because those insulin earrings didn't make me think about the cost of insulin. But I was happy when Lucy McBath and Senator Warnock worked together and actually got legislation which is way more effective, drafted, and passed to help the price. Because that's what legislators do. They actually draft bills. They negotiate those bills with fellow politicians, get it passed so that prices go down. All the while, Katie gets credit for it because she did a stunt. Yous are the same people. Anybody who supports her antics are the same people I went to high school with that believe that saying something is enough. Don't follow it up with action. Don't actually believe in it or have substance. When it was pointed out that that book and her little stunt on an already messy day, by then I think we were up to like what, 13 tries for Kevin McCarthy's ego. So yeah, I get nerves are frayed. I get Dems were tired. I get it even utilizing this circus for a photo op might seem ingenious to some people. But do you know that most people who were there to get the job done weren't looking for that kind of attention because they're not trying to build careers on their own personal gain? We need to question why Katie is trying to be so look at me. We already have enough of that with Party City wigs out there in Arizona or Nevada. I keep getting the states mixed up. I think it's Arizona though. I credit her for Nevada and my friend corrected me. I'm sorry, y'all. Wherever Christian Cinema's from. We already have enough pick me girl, wannabe mean girl senators. I don't need another one, especially representing California, who has Gavin Newsom, who had Kamala Harris, who needs to weigh in the type of influence they want in our Senate, especially now that we have the majority. We cannot afford to waste time with stunt queens like Katie Porter. And I know that this isn't going to be popular with some of the people that follow me. Oh, well. I've never hid how I felt about her stunts. That's why I've called her Whiteboard Wilma. The only thing I know about her are those stunts. I don't know any of the bills she passed because she doesn't pass a lot of them. And when you put her up against people like Lauren Underwood or Lucy McBath, who need I remind you? Because I will forever appreciate the journey that Lucy McBath made, losing her son to an act of racist violence. Old white dude decided her son was playing music too loud and murdered Jordan. And instead of taking that pain and letting it break her, she took that pain and ran because she wanted to fight the grip that gun manufacturers and the NRA have on our country. And she won, not just once, twice. She is no longer a junior congresswoman. She took her pain and turned it into actual progress, and she has been passing bills. But you won't see her on MSNBC. You won't see write-ups about her stunts because she doesn't do stunts. She's too busy legislating. She's doing the work while Katie gets the credit. And it is so frustrating. And welcome to the chat, Fluffy. I'm glad you made it. It is so heartbreaking to me that I have to call out one by using the other because it does feel like an unfair metric, but this whole week has been unfair. We called so many of you out for accusing Hakeem Jeffries, not even accusing, by calling Hakeem Jeffries the minority leader now because sadly we had to give this house over to the Yahoos for 2 years. Barack Obama 2.0, and it's like, no, he's Hakeem Jeffries. I know for some of you think it's a compliment to make us interchangeable and that we only have one true Negro, but this ain't Highlander. And if you listen to the way Hakeem Jeffries talks, how passionate he is about getting the work and getting actual legislation done for his constituents and beyond, you don't need to compare him to anybody else. So I made the joke, and it really wasn't a joke. I'm really going to start calling successful white people Paul Rudd to see how you like being called by one famous, successful guy who is very handsome at his age and very unproblematic. And maybe that's the bar we need to set for white people to understand where you need to be. Because you seem to call anybody who's black and successful Barack Obama now, especially in politics, and we are not one Negro. So yeah, it was a bit offensive. And yeah, a lot of us called you out. And yeah, a lot of you clapped back and said, you are being offensive to us. Always twisting things. Always wanting to be the victims of your own benign bigotry. But the fact of the matter is, we legitimately have to give you our best. We have to give you levels like Hakeem Jeffries. We have to give you levels like Lauren Underwood and Lucy McBath, because we can't get into those places without that level. You even gave Ralph Warnock, who was doing his job, a run for his money with a literal cabbage CTE patient. Because some of you thought black was interchangeable, enough to let somebody as craven as Herschel Walker get that close to a Senate seat. We can't trust your demographic not to come out. 60% of y'all said fascism's fine. We don't care in Florida. Fascism's fine. We don't care in Texas, even though our governor is now begging the president for money because all the stunts he's been pulling, shipping migrants like they're dolls, is costing us millions. We'll just ignore it. He tells us we can be openly racist. Some of you have stand stunts so hard and so long that you don't care that the rest of us are tired. And you will make our legitimate, excellent representatives in the House and Senate, who literally have to be the best of the best to even get that far, interchangeable. Calling them Barack Obama when they are their own people, but yet you let stunts like this be your clarion call. Oh, she's boss bitch. No, she's not. A boss bitch is a person who wouldn't have had that book in their hand, would have been talking about, hey, can we get wrapped up? I need to be sworn in so I can get done for my constituents, and would have had bills ready. But she legitimately read, the book was called The Art of Fuck Around and Find, I ought to not giving a fuck or something like that. I don't even care, because I really don't want people buying this book saying, well, I heard it on your cast 10. Please don't use me to buy bad literature. I will save you your money. It is written by a literal racist misogynist. A guy who literally said we need to buy up weapons to go against the Obama-nites, whatever the fuck that means. He hates black women. He hates women in general. He's a typical incel bro who had enough money from his mommy and daddy to self-publish this drivel. And Katie, instead of thinking about how people would pick apart what she was doing, decided to use this for a stunt. And now people think that's enough to make her senator material. Use a part of the problem. We need legislators. I tell people all the time, I used to be flattered when people would say, Tin, you should run for something. And granted, if I didn't have the mental health issues, if I didn't want to be a writer with all my heart, I would have considered it. But A, it's not fair to anybody who I would be representing for me to be like, I don't feel it today, peace out. So I realistically, responsibly would not want to run for a seat anywhere. Even though I feel that if I put my mind to it, I'd have a damn good chance at winning. It's not that hard, apparently, as you can see from the stunt queen, to convince people that I don't even have to believe in what I say for you to vote for me. And that's a sad reality. But what I tell people all the time is, you don't have to vote for me. Just vote with me. I want pencil pushing nerds. I want people like Lauren Underwood. I am envious of people who have those kind of representatives, even though I do not, like, I can't say enough about the senators that represent my district. Even though Senator Stabenow, as I announced last time, is retiring. And I'm hopeful that we get somebody who stands into our office as strongly as she did, because I feel like as her constituent, not only did her office listen and reach out, but it was easy to talk to them. Versus whoever in the GOP tries to take over, which I know wouldn't. And that is just the real reality. And I think that's what people who stand Katie are hoping, that enough people in California might go red, and that'll scare us into picking this waste of space. And it's not going to go down like that. California has amazing politicians. She is not the only person that could run for that position, and she needs to stop whatever these antics are. Because we kind of need House representatives right now. We no longer have the majority in that. So while she's trying to plot her next venture, I don't think she's being wise about it at all. And it shows. And she's being geared on and helped out by a media who's already twisted and seeing us shoot our own foot. And she's too blinded by her own ego and ambition to see it. And if you are a fan of Katie Porter, or a stan as I like to call it, and you don't see the damage she's going to do potentially to her trajectory, if she's looking for a potential higher place in our government, then you're a fool too. You are pushing her way too soon. She does not have the legislative chops to be a senator. She doesn't even have the personality to be a senator. And the senator has to negotiate. The House might be able to waste our time like they did all this week. Well, technically last week with Kevin McCarthy's stunts. But the Senate is where people really hammer out legislation, negotiating with each other, making deals, cutting anything that could be harmful. We don't need any more time wasters. We have enough of those. We have enough grandstanders. We have enough of people that legitimately, while they vote with us enough, they're still questionable. Looking at you, West Virginia. We cannot afford to waste a seat on another grandstander who won't do anything. We might as well just give it to old man in Vermont at that point. I ain't forget about him. I just hate talking about him. But I'm looking at the female version of him, and I'm freaking sick of not making that liking at this point. I feel like a lot of people who like her are the same people who tried to tell me Bernie or bust. I feel like a lot of people who like her don't understand why the 91% didn't fuck with Katie Porter. If you look at Twitter right now, the large majority of black women voters especially weren't impressed by this. Didn't even bat an eyelash at first, and she kept coming at us. Lieu was she's a dear friend of mine. I love her. Another great writer. You need to pick up her book. I don't want to get it wrong. I think it's The Art of Allyism. She wanted white people to understand I think it's the White People's Guide to Being an Ally. It is amazing, but it's not a book for me. I don't need it. I'm not white. But I will. Thank you, Breams. I'm gonna link that in the YouTube as well. The White Ally Handbook. One of the things she and I like to do is test people on why stunts like this matter to them. Why does it matter to you when she does shit like this when we need legislating? And they always push back on us that, oh, you don't understand. She's drawing attention. And it's like, I get that you think that's enough. Because a lot of you, whether it's at school, whether it's in the office, whether it's in life, have done bare minimum while watching black and brown bodies do the actual sweat equity, doing the heavy lifting while you sit back and say, see there, we're all in this together. It's like that lady that tried to say, well, the Dems kind of imploded after 8 successful years of the Obamas, and I'm like, I'm a Dem. I've been a Democrat since I registered in 1995. With a small jaunt when I lived in Florida where I thought I was independent, I have been a Democrat for over 20 years. Well over 20 years. When I say I collected that lady about what kind of Dems, because you're leaving out a key component of that demographic. Most black Democrats had no problem with who came after Barack Obama. We were all for Hillary Clinton. There were only certain people that kept buying into the constant hit pieces and why you didn't like her and why she didn't seem trustworthy and all the other Fox News driven BS. But you are not going to blame the Obamas or black voters for any of the apathy that white Democrats continue to have. And like I said, the 43% seem to be impressed by stunts like this. The rest of us just want to move on and make sure that California elects a senator that will continue to be as effective as Kamala Harris has been, as Dianne Feinstein has been too, because need I remind you, since her friend Harvey Milk was murdered, she has made it a passion of hers to not only stand up for LGBTQ causes, but for California in whole. Every story I've heard outside misogynistic bros and wannabe pick me girl brats has been positive about Senator Feinstein. And yet all I see is constant disrespect because, oh, she old. Old must be bad. All of a sudden, old's bad, but old is actually accomplished and able to do something, as our current president has shown. I'm just sick and tired of the selectiveness of it because these same people would be mad at me if their old man had won and I would dogging on him right now. But then again, if that man had won, we'd probably all be in very dire straits. I'm not even going to lie about this. I don't believe that Bernie Sanders could have led our country into anything. And I think this world would have been way worse off if he had won. And I'm sick and tired of people acting like that's not the case. When you have a leader that is more into themselves than the people they're supposed to represent, that is not a leader. And I know people want to ding President Biden for being too open to everybody. He is literally the president of the United States. He doesn't just represent our side, even though he's a Democrat. He lets us know that, yes, I am going to take care of the stuff that you guys need too. But I am the president of everybody. And I have to work across the board so that no American suffers. And the fact that some of you don't get it, that was a running thing all this weekend. And it was tiring. So I decided to just dip out after a while. Because this young man irked me. You need to start demanding. You need to make demands about the Dems made your promises. And it's like, I don't know why you white people especially come across with this attitude that black voters only vote based on demands. You might get some, like Zirconia, who try to lead that kind of charge. You might even get some who don't vote, who are very loud that try to say that, like Ice Cube. But the majority of the 91%, which I am very proudly a part of, we vote for our survival. We vote beyond ourselves. We vote for what's right for everybody because we know that being at the bottom, we can't afford to play around with this. And I can tell people who vote from the position of, even if this doesn't affect me directly in a positive way, the positive benefits outweigh the selfishness. Versus those of you who are like, well, I don't see how I'm centered in this, so I don't see why I gotta care. I don't see why the Democrats aren't centering my feelings in this. And you're the same ones in our faces talking about we need to make demands. They need to do the Voting Rights Act. But, you know, it was some of your favorites, like Party City Wig, who decided to vote against the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. These same people that you swear are our allies, people that use books like this, who would just waste our time. People like the Squad, who are women of color, which makes it even worse when they waste our time. Instead of vetting and getting us actual people like Ayanna Presley, Chantel Brown, people who will do the work. You would rather stay on the stunt queen. And this time wasting with no legislation only hurts us in the long run. And then all you do is give the contrarians that talking point of the government don't do anything anyway, so who cares? It is a complete toxic cycle of pretty much self-inflicted damage at this point. If you don't vote and you don't vet who you vote for, you get what you get. And I don't want to call her Senator Porter. I'm sorry. I don't think she's ready for it. And unlike sometimes where I shoot off my mouth and I think somebody isn't ready before I really know the character, looking at Representative, well, he's not a representative, Transportation Secretary Buttigieg. I was wrong about Pete Buttigieg. When he decided to run for president, I thought he had nerve, especially since the media was trying to push the narrative that, oh, he's the white Obama, which so many things wrong with that. Just stop. But he wasn't ready. And he knew he wasn't ready. You're a mayor from a college town. How dare you? But he got his name out there, and instead of making it the Pete Buttigieg and Chastner show, which I'm not going to lie, I'd watch that, he decided, I am going to get the experience I need. And I'm going to help my party. And I'm going to help people in the best way I could. And he has been a fucking superstar. And I went from, I will never call myself Team Pete, to saying, I want to see that man as president one day. People can change. But if they put in the effort, especially, I can say I'm wrong about them. Katie has not earned that. In fact, I don't trust her at all at this point to learn any lessons, to understand it's not about her, and to not pull antics to try to get herself into a political power. But as so many of my friends have said, this is how we ended up with 45. Memeable stuff is cutesy for the internet. It doesn't translate to viable political action. Just because she had a book on the art of not giving a fuck, maybe look at the message she's trying to portray. You didn't like it when Slovakia Barbie wore that jacket that said, I really don't care. It's funny how it's cutesy when Katie does it, but not when the other side does it. And I'm not trying to defend the other side. I cannot stand anything about 45 in this family. Period. I think they're all craven grifters. But if you were going to pull that on us, because so many of you were sanctimonious this morning about Diamond's death, about how we don't need to be like MAGA, but you stand these kinds of stunts because, oh, our side's getting in, our sass. But you couldn't stand the fact that homegirl was wearing that stupid jacket as her husband was literally running concentration camps for migrants and their children. It's all the same to me. Because that stunt ain't gonna stop anything. That stunt ain't passing bills. That stunt didn't stop Kevin McCarthy from wasting all of our time for days. That stunt wasn't negotiating with 6 representatives, that if she was as persuasive as she seems to think her stunts are, she could have convinced 6 of them to vote for Hakeem Jeffries and stop this mess sooner. But Katie doesn't want that. Because in a majority sense, she would be a nobody. And that's the reality of the situation. And I know that my opinion isn't gonna sit well with some people. But the reality of this matter is way too many people play around with the whole idea that her stunts and her antics are the same as actually getting the work done, and use a part of the problem. Now, I had another topic that I was going to talk about today, and I still got about 3 minutes, so I'll try to give a Cliff Notes version of it because it is kind of important going into the future of the Bonnet Chronicles. Because I know for a fact now, and it's not to complain, y'all, it is to state it as real. I am a very blunt person. One of the reasons why I like Twitch is because I can be my unfiltered self on here. I'm set for adults for a reason. Because I don't want kids wandering into this. This is not a family-friendly stream. I also upload it to YouTube. YouTube changed a lot of their policies, but one of their toughest policies now is on profanity. I get it. It's their site to do whatever they want. But I started digging into a lot of the whys, and one of the things that came up was Gonzalez versus YouTube, which is going to our Supreme Court, which may or may not work bad in their favor. And the way they've been plotting and planning, according to people in the know especially, but especially big creators, Google's worried. Rightfully so. They've got Beer Guy, Handmaiden, and a literal insurrectionist's husband on our Supreme Court. So they are worried that our Supreme Court might side with this ruling. And I want to break down really quick what I found out digging. Because it is important to anybody who wants to content create on YouTube to understand that your unfiltered self isn't going to get monetized. They are saving money wherever they could because they could be potentially paying out millions to this family. Now, I know some of you remember the Paris attacks. It was one of several large city attacks by a certain terroristic group, and it caused a bunch of death. And one of the deaths was this young lady of the Gonzalez family. I, for one, as a mom, as a human being, sympathize with their loss completely. What I don't agree with, if what I've read in all these legal texts, and mind you, I am not a legal person, this is just my outsider's opinion, but as somebody who's had to peruse documents for a long time, this is what I gained from this. They are suing, well, they initially sued Google and YouTube for saying that the algorithms incited people to become radicalized. That is the whole basis of the argument against the platform, is that their algorithms legitimately push these videos, thus inciting people to join the terrorists. But the problem with that, and the problem that I told Greg about that, is it takes away the culpability of people. We're always trying to find the reasoning for why people do things instead of realizing that some people are just malleable towards things. Some people want to be a part of something horrible because they don't feel it's horrible. And algorithm based stuff is catered to a lot of us because of the various things that I look up when I'm writing, whether it's historic, space, whether it's anime, manga, whether it's Pokemon, or freaking just any random true crime thing. My YouTube is varied. And because they know my age and stuff, because I was one of them old birds that put in all my information like a dodo, I'm constantly getting stuff like gambling, alcohol, face cream crap. I ignore that. The thing about algorithms is, yeah, they'll try to push stuff at you, but you don't gotta watch it. It's the same thing I said about YouTube. I mean, Twitter. Because some people were complaining when apartheid edgelord took over. Oh, I'm seeing a rise on right wing stuff. I see some more traffic, but it's mostly from people retweeting shit. And it's like, please don't retweet them because I don't see a lot of that stuff. And a lot of people are blocked. A lot of keywords are blocked. So I don't see a lot more. They give us the tools online to keep people from spreading that bile and poison. But some of you really don't mind it. And you out yourself sometimes when you complain. Because honestly, my timeline is a busy timeline. I have over 30,000 followers. So it stays busy and I constantly have to refresh it because Twitter is falling apart. But when I say the only time I see anybody with those weird American flag emojis or really disgusting takes like that weird Duke professor with his weird idea that MLK would have been for the GOP is when a supposed follower retweets that mess. I don't go seeking these people out. And when they come and seek me out, which they often do, trying to attack my appearance, which I got a whole vlog on that. You're not going to ding me. I grew up with people doing the dozens, man. If you want to attack me on my look, join a line. You'll get behind my auntie and uncle who can do it better. You're not going to hurt my feelings in that way, bigot. Sorry. But the truth of the matter is, we take culpability for people's responsibility out. And I really hope that Google has lawyers that will argue that point. Because if me, a literal nobody, could see the fallacy in arguing that the algorithms made people join a literal terrorist group, I'm sure there's somebody who's probably paid hundreds of thousands of dollars an hour to represent this company can do it. Because when I was reading, I was hopeful that it was going to be something substantial that they were trying to argue the merit of. And then I remember we literally have a kangaroo Supreme Court currently, and that is what we're worried about. Because these are the same people who repealed Dobbs and are looking at other ways to screw our country over. So I can understand now why Google is tightening the reins on funds, because it isn't set what might happen to them come this ruling. And it's a sad state of events if they do rule that the algorithm has influenced people, because that's technically what algorithms are supposed to do within the names of consumerism, within the names of introducing you to newer content creators. I found several because of the algorithms. Several good cooking shows, several good people who expose scammers because of what I normally search for and watch. So I've seen the good in the algorithms, I've seen the bad in the algorithms, because sometimes I look up horror stuff and I get suggested stuff that I'm like, I'm not clicking on that. But I am an adult and I am able to make the decision that's not for me. Problem with YouTube is they could also be worried about the fact that their algorithm back in the day didn't really differentiate who they pushed the material on. But even then, that is still not their fault. If your kid is ingesting stuff online unsupervised, that is your fault as a parent. We have to stop trying to pass the buck of responsibility past the person doing the act, because that has been a human issue for way too long. But I have already gone a bit over with this. I just wanted to give you the cliff notes of this potential lawsuit and why I feel that's one of the main reasons why they are going hard on demonetizing people. I think they are trying to build their coffers up just in case they get ruled against, because we don't know. It used to be common sense ruled a little bit. I'm not going to say all the time because we just came out of the funk of 45. But we have no guarantee that our Supreme Court will see things in a rational way yet, even with the newest member, Justice Jackson. So it's a stressful time for all of us. Jackson Brown, actually. So I want people to be mindful that if you're going to try a YouTube career, you're probably going to have to be way more family friendly. You're going to have to watch what you review, watch what kind of animation you put out there, and watch being yourself, apparently. I never thought to use it for anything but video hosting. So I'm not looking to be monetized anymore. It's why I don't push for subscribers or anything. If people want to subscribe, great. If they don't, doesn't matter. I don't see any of my videos ever getting monetized because I cuss. I talk about heavy topics, especially self-harm, mental health, and everything else. I don't want to have to change to put out content. So I refuse. But for those who have been really working hard, these changes was really shitty because they were going back and demonetizing big creators from work they did years ago. And that's not right. You can't start taking profit from the people who drive up your views. These are people with millions of subscribers, people who literally go to their channel just to watch their stuff, now being hurt by these policies because of these lawsuits. So I'm hopeful that Google will be successful just on that merit, because I don't want to see YouTube fall to the wayside, because right now it doesn't really have that much competition. I love Twitch, but for everything Twitch is, it is very limited. It doesn't hold files for that long, even if you are a partner. They don't want to deal with the headache of that. So it is good to be able to partner with places where you can upload your content, like YouTube. But it's getting harder and harder to make a living off of that. And for some of us, this is how we're making our living. So I'm hopeful that the Supreme Court understands that and doesn't rule against them. But like I said, we've seen some really messed up fuckery lately. So fingers crossed, I guess. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up, make some dinner. It was a grocery shopping day, so sky's the limit on what I can make. Still don't even know what I want at this point. But I want to thank you all for sitting in, letting me rant about politics and social issues. Let me vent about that writer lady. Welcome to the chat, Zai. I appreciate you all so much. We will be back on Friday with a nightly Bonnet Chronicles. I already wrote out show notes for it because there was so much that I almost overloaded this one with some of the topics I want to talk about. So I will definitely be back Friday night at 7. If this is your jam, please feel free to sit in. I appreciate that, Red Baron, and thank you for sitting in. I just love this chat. You have been so awesome, respectful to both me and each other, and it just makes it so fun to do these with you guys. But I am going to wrap this up. I will see you sometime next week. There probably won't be any gem because Axiom Wolf is still working till about 5:30, but the gem music will wrap up the stream on Friday. Till then, see you all next time.